Get this, a little secret.
Permission to be.
We don't need permission from anyone
So we're going to see how this goes.
to be who we are.
Like literally one day I was in a class and somebody said,
Well, I don't know about you, but I've spent my whole life
you don't need permission to be who you are.
thinking that I had to ask permission to be me.
So, yeah, here it is. Hey there, I'm Reverend Dan. We are Soul Evolution Collaborative, a nonprofit based in universal spiritual principles, offering possibilities for navigating the evolution of life in an authentic and intentional way. And this is Truth Be Told 2.0, a weekly series that is changing the norms, bringing you inspiring and uplifting messages to look at life a little differently. So this is the second episode in the Living an Unpackaged Life series, which encourages us all to remove the packaging that we have been kind of taught to wear. And we ask the question, what does it look like to walk through life without the made-up rules of someone else? And so in this episode, Permission to Be, we're calling out the need to seek permission before we can be ourselves. So whether it is old scripts from our parents running in our heads or, social pressure in our lives, it can definitely seem like anything that doesn't fit the mold of society is not okay. Then it seems like there's something wrong with us for not fitting the mold. It is really common then to live life kind of seeking permission to be. Well, guess what? There's nothing out there that will give you permission. The only permission that you need is yours. So let's sit back and relax and enjoy this episode of Truth Be Told 2.0.
So an unpackaged life, what does that mean? And what does it have to do with permission or permission to be? Well, I don't know about you, but I've spent my whole life up until recently thinking that I had to ask permission to be me. And so it's interesting when I began to explore authenticity as my core value that I realized, get this, a little secret. We don't need permission from anyone to be who we are. But instead, the only person that we need permission to be is ourselves. And so when I began to explore who I was, and honestly, that exploration has led me down a lot of paths. Because I think as we gain new information and as we gain new experiences, we learn more about who we are. And then we give ourselves permission to live in that space. We give ourselves permission to explore what that may look like in our everyday lives. The other day, I was leading a group, and we did this activity called permission slips. And it's a really simple activity where if you have an experience or an emotion or something in your life that you want maybe to step in more fully, to actually write it down and give yourself permission to feel, to think, to be, to do, to express yourself in that way. And let me tell you, I was a little surprised because I've done this exercise a lot of times, but I was a little surprised at how it brought up so many thoughts for me. And so this giving myself permission, what does that look like in my life? Well, for a long time, I lived my life knowing that the way I was living or the way I was perceived or the expectations that were on me were not who I was. And so I began to explore who is Ryan? Who am I at my very core? And this led me to some really amazing realizations. One, I gave myself permission not to live in the binary. And for so long, I had felt this, I had embodied this, I had known this, that I was not male, I was not female. I had busted the binary a long time ago. But I hadn't given myself permission to live in that experience, to express that experience fully. And it's because I sought the permission of others to do that, and the others I sought permission from weren't going to give me permission to do that at all. And so when I began to look at authenticity as my core value and to really own that and be that and live that and step into it, then the binary could no longer hold who I was. And I began to step out more fully and gave myself permission to feel, to be, and live my authentic, non binary self. And this just became this cascade. It was like that was the one permission I needed to give myself. And then it began this kind of cascade effect of giving myself permission to be in so many other areas. Permission to explore new ventures in life. Permission not to have to live up to the expectations of this many zeros in a paycheck, or the expectations of this many degrees, or if you have this degree, you have to do this, or permission to just live fully as who I am. And I'm telling you, this literally cracked my life open in so many ways. It really began to guide me to look at the areas where I had just been waiting and asking for permission to be me and never really getting it. And so I began to realize I don't need permission from anyone else to be my authentic self. The only person I need the permission from is me. And I began to give it. And I began to then step out in ways that were in alignment with the truth of who I am. And I'm going to tell you, once you begin to do this, and this has been my experience, once you begin to do this, you can't go back. There's no going back to that packaged life. Once you step into the fullness of this unpackaged life, of what that looks like, of what that smells like, tastes like, sounds like, feels like, you can't unknow it. You can't unknow it and go back into an unpackaged life. And so that's the beauty of this experience. That is the beauty of this journey that I'm on thus far. And, you know, living this sort of unpackaged life is not a one and done deal. It's not like a goal or a destination and we're there and boom, we're done. But instead, it's like this evolution of experiences and learning. So the more we learn about ourselves and our values and who we are and how we can step into those ways more fully, like it just creates this continuous expansion of who we are, so that the me that I'm giving myself permission to be is always moving, always changing, always expanding. And so the permission to be within the framework of this unpackaged life is the recipe for an authentic life. And like I said, once you experience it, there is no going back.
While you're here, remember to hit like, subscribe, maybe even drop a comment. We would love to hear from you, and thanks for watching. So what does it look like to give myself permission to be? Being that this is the Unpackaged series, I thought I would kind of do this one a little differently and step outside that comfort zone and do this unpackaged and kind of ditch the script and some of the bullet points a bit. And so we're going to see how this goes. This is going to be a little bit more unpackaged, I think, than usual. And so, yeah, here it is. Permission to be, what that has meant for me, what that's looked like, some of the details, right? So looking back at my life, it kind of seems like I was born to call out the parts of the system that don't work. You know, almost like there was this pre-installed like software in me that just had me doing this. Like that, no, that's messed up. That's hurting those people. This is not a good thing. And like I couldn't not do it if I tried. And that definitely made things difficult at times until I found out. Like literally one day I was in a class and somebody said something along the lines of like, you don't need permission to be who you are. You don't need permission to be you. And it's not like I remember the specific day or the specific instance, but I do remember there was a time in my life where all of a sudden it was like, I don't need to seek out permission. It's not like I'm waiting for mom and dad to come, like as an adult, waiting for mom and dad to come and say, no, it's okay, you can do this, or waiting for society to change all the rules to say, all right, we'll make a space for this, right? It's no. Oh, I have the permission to be that part of me, and then that's what makes the changes in society. And so the biggest way that this showed up in my life is when my wife and I had our son. And pretty quickly we realized we weren't going to fit into like the roles, into the box, the way that they were supposed to be, right? Supposed to be the shoulds. Like I was supposed to be this, I should be this, and she should be this, and that's what society said, right? Well, at the time, my main gig in life, I was a freelance musician, and so most of the stuff that I was doing was at night and was on weekends, and so I just happened to be home during the day. And it turned out it worked really well for us, for my wife to have kind of the 9 to 5, and I would be the one at home during the day. And we kind of just, yeah, that works, that makes sense, let's do that. And man, the pushback that we got from life around us of like, wait, so you're like a stay-at-home dad? Well, I mean, yeah, kinda. Like, not even, didn't even fit into that box. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm home during the day. I'm the one at home with our son during the day, with our infant and with our toddler, with whatever, right? And yet also no, because I also am out working. I'm not just stay at home, right? Yes, I am at home during the day and doing this music stuff, and it was so cool to allow ourselves to do things differently, to allow me to be different, to allow her to be different, to allow us to not need to check off certain boxes or even just trade boxes and check off the boxes, right? Like, we really got to work out what made sense for us. And then what happened was, because I was constantly finding that society doesn't like when you change up the boxes or change up the rules, that there was this pushback. There was pushback against like someone who identifies as male being at home with children. I mean, even just like walking the stroller towards the park, like the looks, like something's not right about this. Like an adult male and a baby, no, like it sends off like alarms in people's heads. It's really weird. That's how deep this runs. And so it got me to look at and question, like, what did it even mean to be a man for me? And so now here I am getting to, pick apart all of the things that I thought life said. This is what it means to be male. This is what it means to be a man. And then to get to do the same thing there, right? To figure out like, well, what does that mean for me? What does that mean for us? And really be who we are in a lot of ways. Now, definitely that work is not a one and done thing. It's pretty consistent. It's pretty ongoing. But man, does it pay off? Does it feel really good to have given myself that permission to be authentic, to be unpackaged in that way, to be who I am, to be the people that work for us in our family, in our relationship. So giving yourself permission might scare the crap out of others at times, and I think that's totally okay. You'll also find that there are people in the world that are totally supportive of you being you. So whether it scares people, whether you have a place to fit in, all of that is totally okay. Do it anyway, right? I think in the places where there is judgment, it says more about them than it does about you. But you have permission to be you. So just do it anyway. Figure out what does it look like to be you and start being you as much as you can.